Hello, welcome to the class this evening. Welcome to Excel Free class, Excel Free Tips class this evening. My name is David Ahonso, and I especially welcome you to this class this evening because you are going to learn a lot this evening. You're going to learn a whole lot of things this evening. So let me just start by sharing my screen so we take it off from there. Right, this is the data we're looking at today. And what we are looking at today is how to use Excel to look at, to examine trend and forecast, right? How to use Excel to forecast the future. So we are using it today in sales. We are using it in sales. So we'll be using this sample data, sales sample data to demonstrate how it is being done. So I will start with a short story of a young man called Femi. Femi, a young entrepreneur who runs a fast-growing sneaker store in the heart of the city. Business was booming, but he had one big problem. What was the problem? He never knew how much stock to order for the next month. Sometimes he ran out too soon, and at other times he had shoes collecting dust in the shop because he did not know how to project into the future to know how many of different brand of shoe he needed to stock in the store so that customer will come and pick them up and buy them. So he didn't know how to project into the future to know what he should have in store. So, but all of these things changed the day that Femi discovered that he could actually use Excel forecasting tools. And that's exactly what we are going to do this evening. We're going to see how we can use these inbuilt tools in Excel to forecast sales into the future, right? So it's not only about sales, it could be about project, it could be about any event or anything whatsoever that generates numbers, right? So we can use Excel to forecast into the future to know what the future would look like. So let's continue with the story of Femi. So he used the forecast and trend function in Excel to predict the next month's sales, which we are going to actually do today based on past performance. So he even built a simple chart to visualize his growth trend, to prevent a situation whereby he will have to be guessing. Now, what does Femi do? Femi adjusts his inventory smartly and always stay ahead of the game. He always stays ahead of demand. So, do you want to learn how Femi did it? That is why you are here this time. Let's forecast your success together, right? So this evening, what we'll be looking at is this sample data set. It's a sample data set I prepared specifically for this tutorial this time around. So what we'll be looking at two methods. We'll be looking at two methods that can be used in Excel to forecast the future, right? To use historical data, to use data of the past to forecast what the future will look like. So we are having these sales data, okay? So what we have here, we have this sales data for the month of April. So this is the performance of this shop from the 1st of April, right, to the last day of April. So these were the sales. So the first day was, mind you, this is just a sample data, right? So your own situation can be different. Of course, will be different from what we have here. So this is just a sample data we are using. So we are just using this one to demonstrate how we can use Excel to forecast the future. So the tricks and the tools and the method we're looking at today, you can actually use them for a larger data set or for any data set at all that involves, predicting the future, a kind of data set that follows trends. So just like the sales data set we are having now. So for the first day of the month, the sales was 1,200. The second day, 1,350. And it goes on like that until the last day of the month, which was 30th of April. And it sold 4,313. 4,313. So this is the sales there. So let's look at the first method. right? Like I said, I will be looking at two methods this evening. We look at two different methods, how we can use Excel forecasting tools, to forecast the future. So to start with, for you to forecast the future, number one, you need your data set must have at least these two columns. So the first column must talk about the time route, right? The first column will talk about the time, like the time trend, like talk about the time. So it could be in months, it could be in dates, it could be in weeks, but the time trend need to have equal intervals, right? The timing need to have equal intervals. For example, I'm using days here. So, days have equal intervals. So we have 24 hours every day, right? So if you are using months, so the time you are using must have equal intervals. So that's what I'm just trying to explain. So the next data you should have, the next set of data you should have in your data set, like in the data you are having, with the next column will be the actual figures you want to predict, right? Will be the actual figures you want to predict. So what we are having here is the past figures. So you need the past figures that you will use to predict the future figures. So these two columns, they are very, very key. They are very, very important if you are talking about trends and forecasting in Excel. So you need at least these two to be able to do that. All right. So for a higher level of analysis, we call it time series analysis, right? We call it time series analysis, whereby you use historical data to predict what is going to happen in the future, right? Okay, so let's go on now. So the first step, like the first method we are going to use, is that we are going to create a line chart, like a line graph or a graph from this data set you are looking at, and from there we will now add in some other tools that will help us to predict what is going to happen in the future. So let's go on now. So the first thing is that I will just click anywhere in this data set and press Ctrl A to select everything. I'll press Ctrl A. 1 second, please. So let me go and open up my data set again. Yes, I'm opening it up now. Yeah. So I press Ctrl A to okay. I press Ctrl A to select everything, right? Ctrl A to select everything. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'll go to my Insert tab, and what you want to do is to look for this line, insert line, right? So when you click on it, you will see different options. Let's choose this one without those notes. So this is our sales data, right? So this line is showing us how sales has been for the whole of the month of April. So from the first day of the month to the last day of the month. So this is what we have. This is explaining to us. This is showing us the sales for the month. Now, in some situation whereby we are looking at a real life data, so the line might not look kind of straight like this. So you might see some ups and downs. All right, you might see some ups and downs in the graph. So that's okay. That's okay, right? So the next thing we want to do now is that we want to right click, right? And go to format chart area. Okay. So I'll go to format chart area. So click on here and click on trend line, right? You click on trend line. So if you look at my graph, you will see that there is a kind of dotted line appearing just underneath my graph. So if I uncheck this, that dotted line will disappear. If I click on it again, it will appear there. So the reason why you are not seeing it is because my graph is straight, and that trend line is a straight line, because by default Excel will select this linear for you by default. But let's see more options. Let's go to more options and see what we have. Then I'll come to this because that's where we are. So we are here now. So you can see that linear is already selected. So to mean that the trend line is linear. But what you want to do is that you want to go through all these options one after the other to see the one that perfectly aligns with your data, like that perfectly aligns with your original graph. Okay, so one of the ways of quickly achieving that, because as you can see, as I'm clicking each of these, you can't really see my trend lines because I'm having a straight line here, and that trend line is kind of straight. So even if I go to linear, if I go to exponential, is taking the same shape. That's why we are not able to see that. So I'll kind of scroll down. So and try to do some forecast here. So you can see forecast. So the first thing is that from here you can forecast forward. That you can forecast the future. Then you can do backward forecast as well. So that means that you want to forecast into the past. Okay. For example, now let's say the business started on the 1st of April and to the last day of April. So we want to know. So if these were the sales in the month of April, what will have been the sales in the month of, let's say, March or February? So that is where you need this backward forecast. So you are forecasting into the past. But what we are doing this time around is that we are forecasting to the future, not into the past. So we are using this past data to forecast into the future. So the next thing is that I want to select this option here. Is asking me to put how many days into the future do I want to forecast. So that's why you are having periods here, periods. So we know that our this is supposed to be day, this is supposed to be day, this is supposed to be day. So this is supposed to be day. 1 second, please. All right. So this is supposed to be day. Let me remove that. Okay. So we are good now. This is supposed to be days. All right. So these days of the month. So let's go back to our trend line now. Okay. So I'll go back to the period. So when you say period, so it's asking us how many days into the future do we want. Let's say we want the next so let's say we want the next 30 days. So we want to see how the month will look like. Okay, the next 30 days. Good. So if I click outside of this, let me go down and select, let me select the display R square value. Okay, right. So then let me see if we can display the equation as well. Good. So let me quickly explain this to us. Yeah, so this one talking about R square value. Okay, we are using that to find, let me click on the trend line again. Okay, we are using that to find which of these trend line explain better what is happening in our data set. Okay, so the value of this R squared, is usually between 0 and 1, and you want it to be as close as possible to 1. Okay, that is when you now, so like if you are moving across all this, if you are selecting this to see how the trend line will look like. So you want to see the one that is very, very close to 1. Okay, this power is not good. It cannot explain what is going on in our data, right? So we'll start from exponential, okay, 0.97, then this 0.999. So let me go with the linear because it's very close to 1. So you can see from here that this is our past data. The thicker blue line is our past data. It's explaining our past data. All right. So the next dotted line is showing us our future sales. Okay. So what's telling us is that right from the 30th of April all through to 31st of May, this will be our sales. So which means that our sales will increase based on the historical data, right? Based on the historical data. So it's telling us that our sales by the end of May should be around 7,000, there between 7,000 and 8,000 naira. Of course, you know that There may be some other factor that may be contributory to sales, but at least this one gives you an idea of what you should be expecting based on your historical data, right? Based on your historical data. And this equation up here, let me quickly briefly explain that. This one is just explaining to you if we go back to our secondary school mathematics once again, this one is just explaining to you that this X here is talking about this X axis, talking about the days, because for this particular graph, the days are on the X axis, okay? And the Y is talking about the sales, okay? So the Y is talking about the sales. So I just included it there to see what is going on, but I can actually remove it and even remove this one since we've gotten the right trend line to explain what is going on. So this is the first method, guys. This is the first method of forecasting your sales into the future, right? Forecasting what your sales will look like. So this trend line is showing you what the sales will look like. So this is number one method. So let's go to the second method and see how that one also works. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this one. I'm going to delete this one and close this. So we want to look at the second method of finding trends and forecasting into the future. So the second method, I will just click anywhere in my data set here and go to the data tab. Okay, go to data tab. And if I scroll, if I just move towards the right, you will see this on this ribbon, you will see this segment called forecast. All right. And this is what you are interested in, this one called forecast sheet. So I will just click on it. So once you click on it, Excel will pop up this for you to see, all right? Provided that your time data have equal intervals, okay? If your time data does not have equal intervals, Excel will show you an error, will tell you that the time data you are trying to use does not have equal intervals. So that's why I mentioned it earlier on, that when you are doing forecasting in Excel, your time data must have equal intervals. So it can be days and days and days, or week and week and week, and so on and so forth. So let me quickly explain what is going on here. So Excel is showing us how our sales will look like in future. All right. So first of all, this forecast end on the 8th of May. So let me change the date to 31st of May. All right, you can see that there is a change. So if you look at this, from this, if you look at this legend, so sales, this is normally our sales, the historical data, okay? So this is actually the forecast sale, this thick orange line or yellow line is the forecast into the future, like what our sale will look like. Then this thin line on top of it is the lower. So he's talking about the upper confidence band. Okay, so when you talk about confidence interval and all that, so I will show you that in a moment. So we are working at 95% confidence interval. Okay, so and this one here is the lower confidence band. So what these two lines, the thin one at the top, the thin one at the bottom, is telling you that within that we are like 95% confident, okay, that our sales will be like this, all right, into the future for the rest of the month of May. Okay, so let me just click on this option to show you more things we can play with here. So you can see here confidence interval is 95%, so I can reduce it. You should see that as I'm reducing it, the two thin lines, they are closing up on the thick line in the middle. You can see they are closing up, but the standard is actually 95%. So I will go back to the standard 95% confidence interval. Okay, so this one seasonality, so Excel will automatically detect if there is a seasonality in our data. Okay, and then we can click on it to include the forecast statistics. So what Excel is going to do is that once we click on create, Excel is going to create for us a sheet with our previous data and our forecast into the future. So this is the timeline range, so which is actually the days, and this is our value, the historical value. Then for the fill missing point using what? So this one is in a situation whereby you have some missing data in your sales. Maybe you forgot to record the sale for a particular day or a particular period of time. So what should Excel use? So here we are selecting interpolation. So what Excel will do is that Excel will look at maybe like average of other sales you had before that time and use it to represent that missing data. Or if we select 0, what Excel will do is it will just replace all your missing data with 0. Then the next thing is that aggregate duplicate using what? So you can select anyone from your average, count, or whatever. So let me just pick average. So when there are duplicate value, Excel will just find an average of all the duplicate value and just impute it for us. So this is what we have here. So the forecast period is starting from 30th of April and it's going to end on the 31st of May. So that's the length of the period we want to forecast. All right. So another thing is that you can see that this one is the one making us to see the line. If we click on this, it will show this column graph for us to see how much sales we'll be making, how much sales we have been making from the 1st of April to the last day of April, right? Represented in blue. And then the ones represented in orange is the sales we are expecting to be making, for the rest of the month of May, all right, from the first day of May to the last day of May. So let's go back to the line one, and then we'll click on create. Okay, so can you see Excel has created, if you notice, Excel has created another sheet for us, sheet 2, we're in sheet 1 working, but now we now have another sheet 2. So Excel has created sheet 2 for us. Okay, so let me just click on this, reduce it a bit, then drag it up. So we can see our sales here, all right? We can see what the sales will look like by the end of the month. So with this kind of data, we are now well prepared to stock up whatever we are selling that has generated this data, to stock up more so that customer will have what they need to buy. All right, customer will have what they need to buy. So you can go ahead and style this graph a bit. You can click on this to insert axis title, chart title, and then do we need data label? No. So we don't need data label. Do we need grid lines? Yeah, of course we need legends. Okay, let me just keep the grid lines there. Okay, let me see what this one will do. Right, this. Okay, I'll use this as the case may be. So depending on what you like, depending on your choice, you can use any of these. So this is how you can forecast. So you can change this one to sales. Can edit that to sales forecast. Okay, then this one will be sales. This will be sales in Naira. Okay, this will be time, or you can say days or time, as the case may be. It can be days. Okay, so at least with this one, we are able to understand what is going on here. Okay, we are able to understand exactly what is going on here. Let me just click on this middle line. So what this tells us is that we need to, stock up in the coming days, so that we have enough wares for customers to buy. All right, so this will bring us to the end of our Excel free tips class today. So thank you for joining us. If you are joining from YouTube, we want you to like our video, subscribe, and share so that you can keep receiving updates on upcoming videos like this. And if you have any, or if you feel like or you have any needs, or you feel like there are some topics that you want to know, or some tools you want to know how to use in Excel or any tech tool, so just reach out to us, comment, send it to us in the comment, and we'll look at it and we'll be able to prepare for it. We'll be able to prepare for it and come and, teach it the next class will come around. Thank you very much. So I want to tell you that this Excel free class is brought to you by Rolift Tech Academy. Rolift Tech Academy is a technology company that trains people on how to use technology tools like Excel, data analytics tools, and we also build AI power products, website development, and all that. So thank you for joining us today. Bye bye.